Hello, everyone. Welcome back to part two of chapter four. And this section, we're going to discuss materialism. The definition is on page 206. And to understand the rest of the lecture, you need to read pages 217 to 221 in the textbook. Materialism is the doctrine that every object and event in the world is physical. All objects and events in the world are physical things. A different way of saying it is to say everything is material. The world is material. This means what? Take everything you know, everything you see around you. Human beings, tables, books, fire, sky, earth, rain, flowers, butterfly, the good man, the bad man. This theory says fundamentally everything is made of one thing, matter. You start with physics, little particles, electrons, protons, neutrons. Then they combine, they give you atoms. The atoms combine, they give you molecules. The molecules combine, they give you cells, then organelles, then tissues, then organs. A human being, if you had a powerful microscope, let's say you could zoom inside of our bodies. A human being is made of about 7,000 trillion atoms. 7,000 trillion atoms. 65% of our bodies is oxygen, 18% is carbon, 10% is hydrogen, 3% is nitrogen, 1.4% is calcium, then phosphorus, then there are about 54 other elements that make up our bodies. So you are through and through matter, according to this. This means then the mind of a person is not something supernatural. Mind, thinking, imagination, memories, beliefs, they're not parts of a divine soul. In fact, there's no soul. If they remove the 7,000 trillion atoms in you, all the oxygen, the 18% of carbon and nitrogen and calcium, they're not going to find anything else. This means then your mind is a creation of your brain. If you don't have a brain, you don't have a mind. In fact, if you damage your brain, you damage your mind. We all know that. Somebody that suffers a really bad stroke, they can lose certain mental skills. If you drink, you get drunk, you see your mind is affected. If you smoke, you get high, notice also your mind is affected. Then whatever the mind is, it must be dependent on the brain, because if you don't have a brain, you don't have a mind. Touching the brain, damaging the brain is damaging the mind. So according to this idea, since a human being is completely physical, material, the mind is not something beyond, something divine, something supernatural. The mind is a result of chemical interactions in the brain. The human brain is the most complex thing we know in the world. About 90 billion cells, about 100 to 1,000 synapses, trillions of glia cells. So you have trillion little connections in your brain. One brain cell can't think. One brain cell cannot fall in love, write poetry, do philosophy. But since we have trillions of them, billions of brain cells and trillions of connections between them, together the entire thing creates your mind. The same way, If you take one atom of hydrogen, actually two atoms of hydrogen, one atom of oxygen, the atoms by themselves, they can't do anything. Oxygen, you can't drink that. Hydrogen, you can't drink it. This is a gas. If you drink it, it will kill you, may kill you. But if you combine two hydrogen with one oxygen, it gives you H2O, water. And water is wet. You can drink water, you can swim in water. So wetness, water, is not something strange, supernatural, something beyond. Water emerges from the properties of oxygen and hydrogen. In the exact same way, the mind is not something beyond, something supernatural, something divine. The mind emerges from the properties of all the interactions happening inside the brain. So essentially, brain creates mind. Now, one of the implications of materialism is that since a human being is completely physical material, so you're simply a complex bag of molecules, self-replicating molecules. Essentially, that's what you are. Since this is what you are, once our bodies die, the mind also dies. So in this theory, immortality is impossible. If you live for 20 years or 20 days or 20 weeks or 85 years, this is all you get. Because there's no after. There's nothing in you that survives after you die. Because all your oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, calcium, they simply go back in nature. They become part of the air, the water we drink, the food that we eat. So on this view again, immortality of the soul is impossible. People who believe in materialism, sometimes they also believe that life is meaningless because we're all going to die. And this is it. Again, there's nothing that survives after you die. They also tend to be atheistic. Atheists, that is, they don't believe in God. So they believe there's only nature, or there's only matter, there's only energy. And this is what we are. And for these people, life tends to be an emergency because they don't have anything to look forward to after we die. So try to live the best life and see if you could make the world slightly better so you could leave it behind for your children. I'm not saying all materialists believe that, but with this idea, the world is simply matter, like an atoms, energy, particles, cells, and there's only nature, there's no God. Quickly, some people draw the conclusion there's no meaning to anything because everything will simply die. You don't have something immortal, something divine in you. In fact, God doesn't exist. Now let's go back to mind. One of the theories, in fact, the most famous theories that fall under materialism is called identity theory. Identity theory, this is explained in page 217 in the textbook. It says mental states are identical to brain states. Mental states are identical to brain states. This means what? There was a time human beings didn't know water was H2O. Then we realized they're the same thing. There was a time we didn't know the morning star was the same as the evening star. We discovered both are the same thing, planet Venus. So this theory says the same way water is the same as H2O, these are just two different words, two different descriptions. Likewise, brain and mind, they're the same thing. This means whatever I'm thinking right now, whatever you're thinking, it is being caused by electrochemical interactions in your brain. If you feeling, sensing, thinking, willing, hoping, wanting, dreaming, expecting, imagining, whatever mental activities you're engaging in, there are some chemicals interaction in your brain causing the mental activities. Let's say I'm thinking, well, I forgot my lunch home today. I forgot my lunch home today. The thought I forgot my lunch home today is being caused by a specific chemical interaction in the brain. Of course, I don't know which one. So my is brain the same way water is H2O again. Water H2O, same thing but different descriptions. Likewise, mental states, mental events, and brain events or neurophysiological events in the brain, they mean the same thing. If this is true, some believe in the future language will change. Again, if I say I forgot my lunch home, it's being caused by a specific chemical interaction in the brain. I don't know which one, but in the future, when brain scientists map out the entire brain, when we know every single cell, every interaction, every connection between the brain cells, we will have a new language. Instead of saying I forgot my lunch home, if I know which chemical reaction causes the thought I forgot my lunch home, I could simply speak in terms of chemical reaction. This means instead of saying I forgot my lunch home, I could say brain chemicals XYZ 101 fired at intensity N. Instead of saying I fall in love, I could say brain chemicals ABC 101 fired in brain part 1 2. Like a machine, pretty much. This means language will change. We will develop a language based on brain sciences. Ordinary everyday language, I forgot my lunch home, I'm hungry, I fall in love, all that, we will not speak this way anymore. Maybe there will be some new apps that translate everyday language into brain chemistry language. That's how confident those people are. Of course, at the moment, you can't do that. In fact, nobody even knows how the brain creates mind. Now, one of the objections against materialism is what is called the hard problem of consciousness. Hard problem of consciousness. If there's only matter, energy, atoms, molecules, if matter is unconscious by nature, inherently, then how can we be conscious? How can somehow little particles playing ping pong in my brain somehow can cause me to be conscious? I'm having thoughts, imagination. How can little particles, brain cells create thinking, consciousness, imagination, mathematics in our brain? There's no known reason as to why we should even be conscious at all. There's no known mechanism by which to explain how the brain creates mind. To say the brain creates your mind is like saying number 7 causes the sun to rise or to set. You see, number 7 and the sun, they're just two different types of things. So number 7 should not be able to cause the sun to rise or set. Likewise, brain chemicals, particles playing ping pong in my brain shouldn't cause me to be conscious. How? You see? So the same way, people who believe in dualism, there are two things. It's hard to explain what the soul is, how the soul and the body are connected. Likewise, if you believe there's only one thing, matter, a human being is just matter, atoms, molecules, cells, how can particles, atoms in the brain make us conscious? Nobody knows. Again, if you remove the brain, you analyze the brain chemicals, There's no known reason in science as to why we should even be conscious at all. We could be alive and not conscious, the same way a flower is alive, but I don't know if flowers are conscious. See? So this is called the hard problem of consciousness. If matter, if atoms, particles are inherently dead, inert, not alive, unconscious, I'm intelligent, dumb and stupid, how is it somehow this random collection of particles somehow can make me conscious? I'm thinking intelligently, but it's simply a bunch of particles creating playing ping pong in my brain. It shouldn't be. So nobody knows. One more objection is the problem of qualia. If mind and brain, they mean the same thing, if brain creates mind, the same way water and H2O, they mean the same thing, then if we know everything about the brain, you should know everything about the mind. If you know everything about H2O, you know everything about water, because they're the same, just two different descriptions. Likewise, if we know everything about the brain, we should know everything about the mind. But obviously, that's not true. Let's say you happen to be a scientist. Let's say you study the color red for your entire life. But let's say you've never seen red because you were brought up and raised in a black and white room. But you read black and white books for all your life. Also, you speak to people who describe what red looks like to you. But let's say you've never seen red, but you know everything that needs to be known about red because you've read everything, you've learned everything about red from reading black and white books, but again, you've never seen red. Now the question is then, since you've never seen red for your entire life, but since you, as a scientist, you know everything that needs to be known about red, from the black and white textbooks, from the black and white room, can you predict what red would look like? See? You can't. Again, to know everything about H2O is to know everything about water. If brain and mind are the same, then to know everything about the brain is to know everything about the mind. Likewise, the person in a black and white room from black and white textbooks who studies everything about red should be able to explain, to predict what red looks like, feels like. But obviously, the person can't do that. Now, let's say this afternoon you take this person outside. For the first time you show them a red rose, they will be surprised because they have the experience of red rose now. So that's what we call qualia. Qualia means the way things feel like, taste like, smell like, look like. Qualia means subjective states of experience, subjective states of experience. See? Let's use a different example. Let's say you're a scientist. You're a scientist. You know everything that needs to be known about strawberries. You study everything that needs to be studied about strawberries. You touch them, you smell them, but you never taste them. You know all the chemicals interactions happening inside of a strawberry. You know what every atom does, what every chemical, every cell does in a piece of strawberry. But you've never tasted the strawberries. You never taste strawberries. From the scientific knowledge you have of strawberries, can you predict what strawberries would taste like? Obviously not. Then you see then, by studying brain chemistry, we can't know everything about the mind. One last time, to know everything about H2O is to know everything about water. You could kind of question that too. If mind and brain mean the same thing, To know everything about the brain, this would mean to know everything about the mind. Obviously, that's not the case, because you could know everything about brain interactions. It doesn't mean you know everything about the brain. The same way you could know everything about a piece of strawberries, but you don't actually have the taste. You don't actually know what strawberries taste like. So this is the problem of qualia. Qualia, again, subjective states of experience. What does it feel like to be a bird, to be a chicken, to be a cow, to be a bat? You can't know that, even though you could have a complete scientific third-person description of chickens and cows and cats and bats, but you cannot know what it feels like to be a cat, or a bird, a dog, or anything. Now, one way to save materialism, to make it work, is to embrace a theory called panpsychism. Panpsychism. Pen means all, psychism means soul. Panpsychism says everything has mind, everything has mental property. This is an old idea. In the ancient times, people used to believe in spirits, animism, when they thought there were spirits in everything. The trees, the forest, the moon, the rivers. There are spirits that move things. Strangely, this idea is making a comeback. Some really smart people begin to think, well, since we can't explain how somehow brain particles create mind, mindless brain particles create mind, we have no idea how to explain that. Maybe we should assume everything has mind. Everything has mind. That is, electrons, protons, neutrons, quarks, atoms, cells, molecules. All of them have a tiny mind. Since atoms are more complex than particles, atoms would have a greater mind. Since cells, molecules, tissues, organs are more complex than atoms, then they would have a greater mind. Since a human being is more complex than atoms, particles, tissues, organs, then a human being has a greater mind than them. But you see where this would lead. If everything has mind, this means the environment has a mind. This means the planet has a mind of its own. Ancient people thought that. This means the entire solar system with the sun at the center has a mind. This means the galaxy has a mind. This means the entire universe has a mind. If you recall, in chapter 2, we discussed something called pantheism. Pantheism means all is God, God is all. That is, the universe and God, they're the same thing. Strangely, if you push panpsychism to its limits, extremes, again, panpsychism says all things are mind. This means the universe too has a mind of its own. This idea leads you back to religion. Panpsychism straight leads you back to pantheism, the idea the universe has a mind. If the universe has a mind, then what is the difference between the universe and God himself? See? So, again, panpsychism, this is a way to save materialism. If everything is matter, atoms, particles, quarks, and those things are dumb and stupid, they're unintelligent, they have no mind, how can somehow a random combination of particles in my mind somehow can create my mind? So the way to save that, to save this idea, is to embrace panpsychism. Panpsychism says everything has a mind of its own. Everything that is self-regulating, like atoms, like cells, molecules, solar systems, galaxies, the entire universe would have a mind. So materialism is a non-religious idea, but if you try to save it with panpsychism, it leads you to the religious idea of panpsychism. Panpsychism, again, all is God, God is all. To summarize, materialism says there's only matter. Everything, every object, every event is matter. You start with basic things like quarks. They combine to give you particles. Particles give you atoms. Atoms give you molecules in cells and tissues, organs, all the way to the mind. This means the human mind, everything I'm saying right now, this means thinking, willing, hoping, wanting, wishing, imagining. Every mental activity is caused by chemical reactions happening in the brain. We don't know how exactly, but scientists are confident this is the way things are, but except again they don't know how. All right. That's it for lecture 2. In lecture 3, we're going to discuss artificial intelligence. Can we create a machine that has a mind of its own? And if you believe brain creates mind, and obviously the answer for you is yes. Thank you for watching.